Listen up closely. If you've stumbled across this video has the potential to change the direction of your life. You see, there's certain kinds of knowledge, certain types of teachings that were never meant to be taught openly. Not because they're fake, not because they're spiritual woo-woo. It's because they change how people behave, especially how men behave. And one thing I want to say is that every occult system, every esoteric system understood one main thing, one main principle, that your sexual energy is power. In today's modern society that we live in, it's all about constant release, constant relief, right? Satiating your pleasures, your desires, whether they be sexual or gluttonous or even greed, right? It's all about that. But if you look at the ancient systems, if you look at ancient India, ancient Egypt, even ancient Greece, they taught us about containment. They taught us about preservation. The occult doesn't mean evil. As much as these Christian theologians will have you believing that, oh, the occult is, demonic. It will corrupt your soul. Don't study the occult. That's all a farce. It's a lie. The occult simply means hidden. It's hidden knowledge. And the reason it's hidden is because this knowledge deals specifically with power. And if you've studied Osho, the great thinker, he taught us that no society wants you to be wise. No society wants you to know yourself. Because if you know about yourself, then you know about your power. And if you know about this power, then you're harder to control. If anything, impossible to control. Right? So, of course, the occult got labeled as dangerous. It got labeled as demonic. Because the occult dealt with power. But one thing I do want to say is that power without maturity, without wisdom, destabilizes people. Of course, I believe that. Power must be used for the right purposes. Because unstable men with power cause destruction. But if you can understand and if you can really embody this forbidden knowledge I'm going to share with you today, you will tap into that power, that reserve that you have within you, and you will use it and direct your life with it and become the strongest version of yourself. Because one thing I want to say, that this forbidden knowledge I'm going to share with you, it deals with discipline, it deals with responsibility. This is not about comfort, this is not about happiness or feeling good. This is not that video. Once you understand that your sexual energy is the strongest force within you, you have the power that you've always wanted, the power that you've always craved. Because you see, sexual energy or your sex drive is not just about sex. It's not just about pleasure. It's not just about feeling good or busting that nut for, 10, 20 seconds. It's not about that, guys. Your sexual energy drives a lot of facets of your life. A lot of different aspects of your life rely on your sexual energy. Number one, your ambition. This dictates how successful you become. Number two, your competitiveness. Right? How competitive are you? How eager are you to beat the other person? How eager are you to get ahead? How eager are you to never have any competition, to be the best at what you do? Number three, your creativity. And I don't mean just, creating life or procreation. That is one aspect of it. But I'm talking about your ability to create ideas, your ability to create, physical things from non-physical ideas. This is what manifestation is all about. Number four, dominance, right? And dominance is usually seen as a bad thing, but no, guys, dominance is very important. Because if you can, number one, dominate yourself, your thoughts, if you can dominate who you are, dominate your habits, dominate your routine daily, right? You become the best version of yourself. If anything I'm trying to say here, it's not about domination of other people. It's about you becoming the best you. And number five, obviously, your survival instinct, right? Your sexual energy is necessary for you to further your lineage, to further your legacy, and so whoever controls this aspect of you, whoever controls this sexual drive, this energy within you controls you, right? So one of my favorite philosophers, Arthur Schopenhauer, in The World as Will and Representation, he describes the sexual impulse as the strongest expression of the will to live, right? The sex drive is the deepest yes inside of you, right? So whenever, a girl invites you over or that late night text, you're eager, you want to go, for any action, you'll take that action, if you know what I mean, right? So it's stronger than logic. It's stronger than morality. It can be even stronger than your reason. If this force controls you, if the id controls you, as Freud talked about, right? That beast, if that beast controls you, then you don't have any free will. You're being led by your beast. You're being led by your impulses. So retaining this energy drives you. It motivates you because your brain stops chasing relief and starts scanning for purpose, right? We're always looking for that relief, right? So people that are constantly releasing, it's their stress reliever, right? It's their way to cope. It's their way to numb themselves. It's their way to satiate pleasure all the time because that's how they feel like, oh, I feel good. I feel relaxed. But when you're in that relaxed state, you're not in an aggressive state, because when you are in an aggressive state, right, that's what's going to fuel your ambition. That's what's going to fuel your creativity. That's what's going to make you feel that raw power again, right? That ability to not take any shit, right? You can look at people in the eye. You can say what you need to say when you need to say it. The reasoning is your dopamine baseline is resetting, right? The nervous system is recalibrating. There's science all tied to this, guys. And like I said, your brain stops chasing this, dopamine addiction, but rather now, seriousness rises. Now you start taking your life seriously. Now you start understanding that, hey, there's more to life than just pleasure. There's more to life than just, playfulness. One thing you must understand is that releasing this energy, releasing this vigor makes you governable. What do I mean by that? Right? Men are controlled, and not even men, women as well. People are controlled, number one, through desire. If you look at, the media, if you look at the advertising, if you look at, everything around us, it's all about pushing desire upon us, right? Not only desire to buy things, I mean, that's one thing. But if you look at, the TV shows, the movies, if you're scrolling, you can see the images, right? The promiscuous images, the thirst traps. You can see, they're pushing that desire on you so you can, cave into it, right? You can cave into that release. You can cave into you playing with yourself, touching yourself, releasing this energy that you have. They want you to do that. Number two, urgency, right? You must have this now. You must be here now, right? They're always pushing the hype on you. They're always pushing a certain lifestyle on you with these influencers, right? They're always promoting, oh, try this fix, try that fix, right? Always pushing the urgent need to get that, six-pack abs in 2 weeks or, whatever, right? They don't understand that power is built through time. Power is built through discipline, consistency, right? The more consistent you are, the more powerful you become. The more persistent you are, the more powerful you become. But they don't push that. They don't push long-term gain or long-term investment. They push instant gratification. Number three, appetite, right? Not only are they, promoting the junk foods, but also the appetite, the gluttonous appetite or the lustful appetite is what I mean to say is they're pushing that, right? The hub is so easily accessible, right? All these sites are so easily accessible. Hookup culture has become very common. Dating apps heavily pushed, right? So they're pushing this appetite of sexual desire upon you, right? Where you want to be constantly involved in women. One thing I think about, men that are always just hyper fixated on women, where the hoes at, they're always trying to be around girls, they're always, I'm like, yo, do you not have a life of your own, right? Why are you always focused on women? Why is your focus never towards, discipline? Why is your focus never towards building yourself, right? How are you focused on women, but you haven't made a mill? How are you focused on women, but you don't have anything to show for your life? You're still working, a job that doesn't satisfy you, rather than building a business or a brand, or doing something else that brings you that passion or joy, right? It's not always about maybe money, but it's about you becoming the best version of yourself, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. But one of my favorite philosophers, Niccolo Machiavelli, in The Prince, he repeatedly notes that people ruled by immediate needs are easy to manipulate. Let me repeat that one more time. People ruled by immediate needs are easy to manipulate. You see, a man who wants something badly can always be baited, right? A predictable man is a controllable man. Machiavelli talked about power dynamics. And if you want to talk about the power, the occult power that I'm talking about, if they can easily control you, if they can dangle, that pleasure, that lust in front of you, and you cave in, you're a weak man. You have no power. You have no power to stand up against the system. You have no power to lead anybody. You can't even lead yourself, right? Today, people want to be leaders. There's no more leaders. If you want to be a leader, number one, you must learn to preserve your energy. You must learn to direct and channel your energy. So yeah, if you look at the advertising today, if you look at the pornography today, if you look at the hypersexualization of the culture today, these are all leverage systems. They only work if you're hungry. They only work when you don't have discipline. When you can't control your hunger, that's when you're going to give in. And the truth is, discipline scares systems. If you're a disciplined man, you don't react that fast. You don't impulse buy, you don't impulse spend, you don't make irrational decisions. No. You see, they can dangle that money in front of you. They can dangle that, beautiful woman in front of you to sell your soul. You'll never do it because you realize what's most important. A disciplined man, especially a man that is obedient to himself, that is obedient to his moral code. You're the type of man like Malcolm X, right? Where you can lead a revolution. You can lead a group of people into freedom. You can topple the government. You can topple systems. This is stuff that they don't want you to know, because if you knew this, right, you wouldn't cave into everything that they're promoting or pushing onto you. You see, the system just wants you to enjoy yourself, because enjoying yourself is pacification, right? Enjoyment keeps you calm. It keeps you distracted. It keeps you compliant, but not powerful, right? That's why pleasure, in this hedonistic society, pleasure is heavily pushed, because they want you compliant. They want you always numbed out, satiated, always, at a weak state. If you think about it, before fights, a lot of boxers didn't release, because if they released, they wouldn't be at their strongest. They wouldn't be at their most focused state, right? So you must understand that when the leash comes off, the real battle starts. What do I mean by that, right? Here's secret number 3. Retention turns the warrior inward. And by the warrior, I'm talking about that archetype within you. You see, we all have these archetypes within our psyche. We have collective archetypes, but we also have, these archetypes that we can tune into individually. And the individual archetype of the warrior within you, right? This is what gets turned on when you're retaining, right? That aggressiveness tunes you into that warrior archetype. And when that external release disappears, when you can no longer release, right, energy turns inward. And when the energy turns inward, right, you're going to feel restless. You're going to feel intense. You're going to feel aggressive. You're going to feel self-critical. You're going to feel confrontational sometimes with other people, right? This is that shadow aspect of the warrior. One of my favorite philosophers, Nietzsche, in Beyond Good and Evil, states that under peaceful conditions, the militant man attacks himself. What does he mean by this? Remove distractions and the warrior has no enemy but himself. You see, when you remove the distraction of pleasure, when you remove the distraction of, masturbation or just touching yourself or, constantly busting nuts, guys, you know what I mean? Like, when you remove that, everything comes up. Everything that you've, pushed within, everything that you've suppressed within, your memories, your trauma, your emotions that you don't want to feel, right? The programming that you need to unlearn, the trauma that you've been holding on to, the bullshit that you keep living by, the habits you need to change, the behavior you need to, overcome. All of this starts coming up. And this is stuff you don't want to face, but this is this is what's going to take you to the next level, right? Because unless you can heal this, unless you can transcend this, unless you can, decipher through all of this, unless you can do the shadow work, and this is all it is, right? Retention makes shadow work possible, right? Because when you do the shadow work, you get to the next level. When you do the shadow work, right, you get to that stage where you're the awakened man now, right? You're the enlightened individual, if you want to use these spiritual terms, right? Because here's the thing, you're no longer numbing yourself. You're no longer numbing that discomfort, that discomforting feeling within you, because you see, weakness becomes obvious. It becomes obvious when you start retaining. You understand that, hey, you're not as strong as you thought you were. And you stop smoothing yourself out. You stop relaxing yourself. You tense up, and that's important because now you realize that, hey, there's stuff within you that needs focus. There's stuff within you that needs the attention now, right? You must shine light on your darkness. You must integrate your shadow. You must become one with it. You must befriend it, right? You must befriend the demons within you, right? They tell you, what's that quote by Carl Jung? Don't cast out the demons because they may just be the best part of you, right? So this is the warrior shadow that you need to befriend, right? So moving forward, guys, ancient systems knew that the part of this phase in retention was dangerous, and they warned men because they knew that men could destroy themselves at this point, right? They knew that if you retain, but you don't have a healthy outlet, or you don't have a healthy way to transmute this energy, you could self-combust, you could destroy yourself and others, right? They knew about this. So that's why even some of this esoteric teachings, they required, a master and a student. They required, years of study, years of practice, because this was the only way that you could, grow into that wisdom. So creative power was meant to be ritualized, not abused. It was meant to be studied. It was meant to be, treated as if this was sacred knowledge. And so sexual energy, it's always been treated as sacred. It's always been treated as powerful. This is energy that if you can utilize in the right way, if this is energy that if you can channel in the right way, will transform your life like never before. Helena Blavatsky, in The Secret Doctrine, she frames that creative force as divine when directed, right? When your energy is directed for a good purpose, when your sexual energy is being directed for a goal, for something worthwhile, an ideal, right? If it's directed for something constructive, it's divine. But when it's abused compulsively, right? When you're just jacking off for no reason, right? That's when it's the most destructive. And creation without meaning turns into addiction. That's why you have hella people addicted right now, because they have this addiction because they don't know how to use this power. They don't know what to do with it. So they just keep releasing it, right? You see, this is the thing. Pornography as a ritual without meaning, it's going to drain your life. And then you're stuck in this cycle of shame and guilt. And so you're oscillating between indulgence and self-hatred, right? So guilt and shame weaken the will. And if your will is weakened, right, you can't direct your life. Talking about Schopenhauer, right? The will to live, the will to really direct your life comes from having that energy to begin with, comes from having that, that force, that ambition to begin with. But if you don't have the energy, then you have no will. And so pleasure isn't the law. What is the law, right? What is the law that I'm trying to get to here? One thing you must understand, the true occult split, will versus lust. You see, most people, most men confuse pressure with will. Lust is impulse driven, right? Will is direction. When you're driven by lust, you're driven by this need to just, impulsively make decisions. And most of these decisions are not beneficial to you at all. They're not bringing anything. They're not bringing money into your life. They're not bringing, they may bring that, 30 seconds of pleasure at some point, but they're not bringing you that fulfillment. They're not bringing you what you authentically, genuinely desire, what your soul desires, right? They may bring you that ego satisfaction. They may bring you that, temporary satiation of, the release, the comfort that you feel after releasing. That's what lust will bring you, of course. But the will, which requires your sexual preservation, right? That will bring you direction. That will bring you meaning. That will bring you purpose. And so Aleister Crowley in the Book of the Law states, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Not do whatever you want, but do what aligns with your highest direction. And so retention without direction, right? It creates pressure. But with direction, right? It creates power. Let me repeat that one more time. Retention without direction creates pressure, right? This pressure to like, oh, I need to release, I need to bust, I need to, I see that fat booty, I need to go, I need to talk. No, right? With direction, guys, and retention, you create power. You become unstoppable. Your ego will always hijack your retention. Your ego will always hijack your self-preservation because the ego wants to feel special. It wants the girls to notice you, right? This is why a lot of the female attraction on retention, right? Those videos have, some truth to them. But if that's all you care about, if that's all you're focused on is feeling special, you're actually replacing real growth for that validation, for that approval, right? You're still a slave. You're not any better than, a person that is constantly releasing, and the superiority feeling that you get when you do hook up with a chick or do get, a notch in your count, whatever, right? It's just, you're just burning energy without producing anything real, anything substantial. There's no results, right? You haven't even built a relationship or a marriage with a woman. No, none of that. All you've really done is just release energy. And now you feel special because, hey, you did it with a girl and, it's one girl out of many. And if you think that's what masculinity is, go watch my video on what masculine men are all about. But here's the thing. Your mission matters because energy needs a destination. And this brings us to the final teaching, the final secret that most men fail to understand is that retention is not a hack. It's not, get rich quick, or it's not about female attraction. It's not about, now I can get more girls. It's not about, transform your body in 90 days. It's not instant gratification. Retention is an initiation. It's a journey. It's the heroic journey. It's the journey that the hobbits took to destroy the ring, right? It's a 3-part series. That's what I'm talking about. This is a heroic journey. This is going to be a long road. This is not, 2 months and that's it. I see the benefits and I'm good. No, this is not like that, guys, because retention magnifies what's already there. It reveals discipline or delusion. It reveals whether you have that strength or whether you're all about insecurity, right? Whatever you have within you, it's going to amplify that, right? It's like when you look into the unconscious, right? You got to be careful with what eyes you look into the unconscious with, because that's exactly what it will shine back to you. It reveals whether humility or ego, which one are you focused on? Which one is the dominating force in your life? Are you doing this for the egoic purposes, or are you doing this for purposes that are more soulful, or more purposes that are more authentic? Nietzsche and Machiavelli converge here because power amplifies character. You see, and if your character is not pure, if your character is not crystallized, you become the tyrant. You become the one using the power for destructive purposes, right? Weak identity plus power equals instability, right? Retention doesn't make you better. It makes you louder inside. You must understand that. So retention reveals to you what's happening within. And so this is why some people go paranoid. Some people, don't know how to control themselves, right? They enter an ungrounded identity. Other people become calm. Other people become decisive. Other people become really good at whatever it is that, they want to achieve. They become focused. They become driven. It's because they already had that structure before that power arrived. And so one thing that I need you to understand is that why this knowledge stayed hidden is because most men wanted relief, not responsibility. Most men wanted, pleasure, not discipline. You must understand that. And so this is why knowledge especially this knowledge, this sacred sexual knowledge, was hidden. Not because it's mystical, even though you may think it is, and in certain ways it definitely is, but because this knowledge demands you. It demands something from you, and what it demands from you is for you to do that inner work. It demands from you to channel this energy and for you to use this energy to see within yourself, to see what is within the unconscious, to see what is within your unconscious and bring it all out. Whether you were, abused as a kid, whether you had a traumatic childhood, whatever you had going on in your earlier years, why are you practicing retention? What are your intentions, right? If it's for female attraction, if it's for, validation, if it's for, domination over others, you're gonna self-combust, right? The energy is gonna turn inward on you, and you're gonna end up hurting yourself in the process. And so the occult truth behind semen retention isn't that it gives you power, which it does, but it reveals whether you're capable of holding it. And so this is my message for today, guys, that this knowledge that I'm talking about, right? The deep psychology that I've gotten into today, the philosophy that we've touched on, the occult teachings of what this power is and how this power can really transform you. You're not going to find this anywhere else. Therefore, I highly recommend you subscribe to my channel for a lot more content on psychology, philosophy. A lot of my videos tie in to this concept, guys. So, if this video brought you any value, give it a thumbs up. But I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Peace.